action!
Those little ponies finally figured out how to stabilize the magic. Took them long enough. And now that they have, it's time to take back what is mine!
God help us!
So with the recent release of Make Your Mark, we were introduced to our next villain in the series, this mysterious bluish-violet alicorn in a dark throne room. We don't get too much out of this, other than her plans to take back what she believes is rightfully hers. The Crystals, Maritime Bay, Equestria, a ham and cheese on rye.
Bob Brady, or Jimbo, or the 1991 Denver Broncos.
Well, we won't know for sure until the next special or until the series premieres later this year. But for today, we'll be focusing on just who she is, but more importantly, what she is. An alicorn, one of the rarest sights in the entire world. So we know that alicorns can be created when they accomplish great feats of friendship like with Cadence or Twilight, or the rare occurrence of a naturally born alicorn like Flurryheart.
The birth of an alicorn is something Equestria has never seen.
It is beyond even our understanding.
When it comes to beat canon, it gets a little muddled. In the comics, it does tend to lean more towards them being naturally born, as in the Legends of Magic series, we see them as relatively young in alicorn age terms, where they do indeed possess unicorn horns and wings. It's doubtful, but possible they may have performed some feat of friendship, but with Luna being as young and inexperienced as we see in this comic, it's more likely that both inherited those traits through birth. In the Journal of Two Sisters, however, it's said that they came from a land far outside of Equestria, and eventually became the rulers of the land today. Like I said, it gets complicated when it comes to the Royal Sisters. So with that being said, let's concentrate back on Twilight now. After the defeat of Sombra, Tyrek, and Cozy Glow, Equestria was ushered into a new age of peace and prosperity, with ponies and all creatures around the world united like never before.
I got here as soon as I could, but Friendship Ambassador is a full-time job these days. Making peace between Abyssinians and the Diamond Dogs has not been easy.
Okay, sure, there is still some level of unrest, but that's to be expected, as there are those out there who would take advantage of the naivete of every creature being so friendly with one another. With G5, however, it appears that this near-perfect utopia was just erased, and creatures all but disappeared and the three pony tribes became divided. And at some point at the center of this conflict are these crystals that were created for each individual race. It's kind of hard to believe that such an occurrence would happen under Twilight's rule. But what if a series of events occurred outside of her control, forcing her to make a series of radical decisions, like the creation of these gems? More importantly, what if there was some pony else in the picture with devious intentions? Some pony in a position of power? Some pony like our new villain? We know that alicorns are immortal, or at least live extensively long lifespans. So what if this pony is Twilight's apprentice? But that begs the question, how exactly do the crystals fit into all of this? Well, on the stained glass window in Zephyr Heights, it's heavily implied that Twilight was involved in some degree with the creation or power distribution of these crystals. And while we're on the window, much like our new alicorn villain, we do in fact see two purple ponies with the unicorn and Pegasi crystal. Interesting coincidence? Maybe. But regardless, if one of these ponies is in fact Twilight's apprentice, how and why did she carry out her betrayal, and what brought her to the crystals? Well, let's focus on those now. The crystals themselves represent the beacon of unity between the three pony races. With the combined harmony between every pony, their power is broadcasted all throughout Equestria, allowing magic to be readily used by Pegasi to fly, earth ponies to tend the land, and of course, unicorns with their plethora of abilities. In the first Make Your Mark special, whenever there was any amount of discourse between the three races, magic glitches out. When there is a massive amount of hate, the crystals created a storm indicative of the Wendigos and projected a void that nearly destroys Maritime Bay. This felt rather strange, as why would these gems, who again are the beacons of unity between every pony, would willingly punish the entire town for the few jerks in Maritime Bay? This implies that the gem's enchantments are reactive to the overall harmony and dictates that all must follow, or they will cut off all magic and rain utter chaos, causing all to die. Twilight cares about friendship, but to create something that enforces such ideals like a dictatorship doesn't seem like her at all. It seems more like the tactics from a malicious user who wants to keep control over every pony in Equestria. Now that we have a number of elements in place, or at least what elements have been revealed in G5 so far, let's go ahead and theorize what actually went down. The utopia that Twilight and her friends have created would last for many years to come, pushing Equestria into a new age of economic and industrial booms, solving numerous problems with more advanced technologies, easing the lives of ponies everywhere. And for a time, this golden age seemed to secure the future of the world. However, with the rise of technology comes the need for resources. Eventually, the finite number of resources in Equestria would be exhausted, and the pony nations would begin to trade for more resources outside their lands. This alleviates the issue temporarily, but rising trade prices creates unrest between Equestria and many other creatures of the world. Arguments over trade agreements of all creatures would close off their borders to ponies, or leave Equestrian lands entirely. This left ponies to rely on themselves, leading to civil unrest among the working ponies, creating a class rivalry between one another. Twilight's initial attempts at diplomacy were met with criticism, and while not intended, did seem to favor unicorns in the conflict, leading many to lose faith in the princess. Twilight's apprentice, who herself suffered a recent tragedy with her mother and father, becoming an accidental casualty of this conflict, wished to assist her mentor in finding a peaceful solution. She begins to research ancient magic, and soon discovers a method which could once again bring unity to Equestria. Twilight is initially hesitant with what would be involved, but is willing to make the sacrifice for her kingdom if it would bring unity once more. After much preparation, she creates these new enchanted artifacts, 3 crystals to show harmony between the 3 races. She chose 3 of each race that best exhibited friendship and harmony. Twilight's apprentice herself volunteered to be the bearer of the unicorn crystal. With this endeavor, the princess infused the crystals with half of her power and offered the crystals to the 3 bearers, and commemorated this momentous occasion upon the eve of the Summer Sun celebration, proclaiming for the betterment of ponykind. The crystals shall represent the strength and harmony between the 3 pony tribes, and then their steadfast dedication, determination, and friendship will one day spread around Equestria once more. The event was even immortalized in stained glass. For a time, tensions cooled. However, the ever-eager apprentice saw her opportunity. Gathering the other bearers in a private meeting, she took their crystals and immediately began using its power to strike them down. She then used the crystals in Twilight's magic to transform herself into an alicorn. With her newfound power, she corrupts the crystals to cut off all magic to every race, and that any who do not follow her rule shall be punished severely. News quickly reaches the ears of the princess. Twilight, unaffected by this new outcome, is soon confronted by her apprentice, and the two engage in combat. Even with the aid of the crystals, the two are near equal in power. As the battle raged on, damage to Canterlot and its citizens became more at risk, and Twilight knew that she had to end this conflict as soon as possible. In a bold move, Twilight focused her attacks on the crystals being guarded by her apprentice to cut off her power source. However, this left the princess vulnerable. The apprentice attacked Twilight directly, sending her crashing to the ground. As Twilight lay barely conscious on the ground, her apprentice leered over her, her gaze cold and lifeless. She talked down to the defeated princess. "This is for my family that was lost due to your failure." Twilight could only look upon her apprentice with stoicism. The apprentice prepared to finish off her long-term mentor and to finalize her revenge. Before she could finish her off, Twilight recovered. In a last-ditch effort to halt her apprentice, she uses all her remaining magic to unleash a brilliant, radiant light engulfing her. The apprentice attempts to blast her, but to no avail. Twilight's magical field rapidly expands, surrounding her apprentice, still fighting in vain to stop it. With both alicorns and the crystals within Twilight's magic, she releases one final, magnificent burst of power that dwarfs the night sky, blasting in all directions. After the light dissipates, all is silent. Two mares lie on the ground. One alicorn, the Apprentice, and one unicorn, Twilight. The Apprentice slowly recovers and attempts to attack Twilight, but realizes she is unable to cast magic. She attempts to fly, but is also to no avail. Twilight groggily raises herself to look upon her apprentice. She proclaims that she cut her off from magic, and is an alicorn in name and lifespan only. She further states that the crystals have been teleported to far-off areas around Equestria, which led to the unfortunate side effect of all magic still being unavailable to all citizens of Equestria. The apprentice looks upon her with anger, but noticed that Twilight's body was beginning to glow. Twilight looked upon her apprentice one last time, and then slowly dissipated, her remaining essence and her life force diminished. The apprentice looked upon the sight with much frustration and could do nothing else but limp away. She ran away to the farthest reaches of Equestria, hiding away and planning until one day the crystals can be found and once again regain her power. Equestria, now without a princess, divided their rulership to their provinces only. Each race, seeing the failure of these gems, closed off from one another, which would continue for ages until the gems were brought together once again. And that's my theory. Yeah, it plays fast and loose with a lot of elements, but hey, you try connecting all the dots to have everything make sense. I'm not crazy, you're crazy. Anyway, let me hear in the comments your theories. Do you believe that this could be Twilight's apprentice? Or do you have different ideas about this alicorn, the gems, or how G5 connects to G4? Let me hear it, I can't wait to see your ideas. Well, that's it for today, guys. Until next time, MC out!